Groovy English Podcast.
Hey there! Welcome back to Groovy English. I'm Chloe.
And I'm Aiden. We share real stories, useful tips, and everyday English to help you grow with confidence.
Wherever you are in your English learning journey, we're glad you're here.
If you're enjoying the podcast, feel free to like, subscribe, or share it with a friend.
Let's get started.
Hey friends, and welcome back to Groovy English, where we learn to speak English with heart, humor, and real human connection. It's me, Olivia, and today I want to tell you a story. A story that might sound familiar, or maybe it will open a new window for you. Either way, it's real. It's mine. And it's about how learning English didn't just change my vocabulary, it changed how I see the world. Yes, that might sound a little dramatic, but I promise, by the end of this episode, you'll see what I mean. So grab your tea, your coffee, or just settle in wherever you are. Let's go on this journey together. When I first started learning English, it felt like a tool. A tool I needed for school, for work, for travel. It wasn't personal. It wasn't emotional. It was practical, like learning how to use a map or follow directions on a machine. But slowly, something shifted. English started showing up in the music I listened to, in the books I read, in the late-night YouTube rabbit holes I fell into. It was no longer just a subject at school. It was a gateway, a key to something bigger. And that something was people, culture, thought, identity. One of the first things I noticed was how English encouraged me to express myself differently. In my native language, I was used to being careful, polite, indirect. But in English, everything felt more open, more assertive. People said what they meant. They used I feel and I think in ways I wasn't used to. And suddenly, I realized I could do that too. I could share my thoughts. I could speak up in a new way. It wasn't just language. It was permission. Permission to show up in a bigger, more confident version of myself. English also changed how I processed information. Have you noticed this? In some cultures, storytelling is circular. You begin slowly, build context, and finally arrive at the main point. But in English, especially in Western contexts, it's more direct. You start with the main idea, then explain. At first, I found this strange. It felt rushed. But later, I realized there's beauty in both styles. And being bilingual gave me the power to shift between them, depending on who I was talking to. Now, when I write or speak, I'm more aware of how I communicate, not just what I say. That's a gift I never expected from learning English. Another way English changed me? It made the world feel smaller in the best way. Before, I mostly consumed content in one language, one lens. But once I got comfortable with English, suddenly I had access to podcasts, blogs, news, interviews, documentaries from everywhere. I could listen to an author from Nigeria, a scientist from Canada, a designer from India, all in one afternoon. My worldview expanded. My assumptions were challenged. I realized how rich and diverse the human experience really is. It humbled me. It inspired me. It made me curious. And then came the friendships. Some of the most meaningful conversations I've ever had were in English, with people I never would have met otherwise. Friends from Japan, Brazil, Germany, South Africa. All of us sitting in a Zoom room or a hostile common area or a language exchange group, united not by our backgrounds, but by our desire to connect. English was our bridge, our middle ground. And in those moments, it didn't matter if my grammar was perfect. What mattered was the connection, the shared laugh, the "I've felt that too." It reminded me that language isn't just about speaking. It's about belonging. One of the biggest mindset shifts I had was this: there's no such thing as one correct way to think. When you speak more than one language, especially one as widespread as English, you realize that values, humor, and priorities are not universal. What's polite in one culture might be rude in another. What's considered normal in your town might be totally weird somewhere else. English exposed me to these differences. It made me ask more questions. It made me more open to different lifestyles, beliefs, and ways of being. And that changed how I see myself, too. You know what else surprised me? How English changed my inner voice. Yes, the voice in my head. Sometimes I think in English, especially when I'm problem solving or giving myself a pep talk. And that voice? It feels a little more direct, a little more assertive, like a cheerleader who says, "You've got this," even when I'm nervous. It's like I have two voices now, each with its own personality. And depending on the situation, I lean into one or the other. That flexibility has helped me become more emotionally aware and more adaptable. Of course, it wasn't always easy. There were times I felt frustrated. Times when I froze in conversations or doubted myself because I couldn't find the right word. Times when I compared myself to native speakers and felt small. But over time, I learned to shift my focus. It wasn't about sounding native. It was about sounding human. And being human means being messy. It means making mistakes, laughing at yourself, and trying again. English helped me become more forgiving with myself and with others. Another thing I never expected? How English boosted my creativity. In English, I discovered poetry I wouldn't have found in translation. I watched films with dialogue that made me feel seen. I wrote stories I didn't know lived inside me until English gave them a space to grow. When you learn a new language, it's like you get a second toolbox. More ways to play with meaning. More ways to describe feelings. And that, for me, opened the door to self-expression in a whole new way. English also helped me find my purpose. Through this language, I discovered the world of education, storytelling, communication, and connection. It led me to this podcast too. It gave me a way to support other learners, to remind them that language is not just a skill. It's a superpower. And now, when I teach or coach or record episodes like this one, I don't just think about verbs and tenses. I think about what we're really doing. We're learning how to see, how to listen, how to grow into a fuller version of ourselves. And can I tell you a secret? Sometimes I feel like English is my passport. Not just to places, but to people, to experiences, to ideas I wouldn't otherwise understand. It's taken me further than I imagined. But here's the beautiful part. English didn't erase my native language. It enriched it. Now I live in two worlds, and I carry them both with pride. But perhaps the most unexpected change English brought me was the way I see myself. It gave me the words to describe emotions I never knew how to explain in my native language. Words like bittersweet, overwhelmed, or serendipity helped me understand my feelings better. They gave me permission to feel things I used to brush aside. I also started noticing how English speakers express themselves differently. The way they use understatement or humor to soften bad news. Or how they say that's interesting when they don't agree but want to stay polite. These small cultural signals changed the way I listened, not just to English, but to people in general. Reading books in English opened up a whole world of perspectives. I remember reading To Kill a Mockingbird and being shaken by the injustice in the story. Or watching TED Talks by people who grew up in totally different parts of the world, yet somehow we understood each other because we spoke the same language. That shared understanding started to feel like a kind of magic. Like a secret bridge that connects two completely different minds. I would never have met half of the people I know today if I didn't speak English. And even if I did meet them, I wouldn't have really known them. Music played a part too. I grew up singing along to songs in English, sometimes not even understanding the words. But over time, I started noticing metaphors and idioms in the lyrics. I started feeling the songs, not just humming along. That emotional connection to language made English even more personal. English also changed how I travel. Before, traveling was about taking photos and sightseeing. But now I can have real conversations with locals or fellow travelers from completely different countries. I can ask them about their lives, their dreams, their cultures. It turns a trip into a relationship. It also gave me more confidence. Not just the confidence to speak, but the confidence to be curious, to ask questions, to raise my hand, to offer my opinion. When you learn to express yourself in another language, you realize your voice matters, even in unfamiliar spaces. Of course, it wasn't always easy. There were times I felt like I'd never be fluent. Times I misunderstood someone and felt embarrassed. But every awkward moment, every grammar mistake, every time I had to pause mid-sentence to find the right word, it all added up. And slowly, something changed. I stopped translating in my head. I started dreaming in English. I started making jokes in English. I wasn't just speaking the language anymore, I was living it. And when that happens, you realize that English isn't just a tool for communication. It's a lens that lets you see the world in a new way. You start noticing nuances in people's thoughts and expressions. You start connecting dots that used to feel random. It also helped me understand how powerful language can be. A single word like hope or freedom can carry so much meaning depending on who says it and where they come from. It taught me to be more careful, more intentional, and more compassionate in how I use words, no matter what language I'm speaking. One of the biggest lessons? That English isn't about being perfect. It's about being present, showing up, trying, laughing at your own mistakes, letting the language shape you, not just in how you speak, but in how you see and connect with the world. In the end, English didn't just change how I see the world, it changed how I exist in it. It widened the lens through which I understand people, cultures, and even myself. And that's a kind of change that goes far beyond grammar or vocabulary. So wherever you are in your English journey, just know this. The more you open yourself to the language, the more it opens the world to you. One word at a time. So that's my story. How English didn't just help me travel or find work, but how it truly changed the way I see the world. It helped me see people with more empathy. It helped me see myself with more kindness. And it helped me see the beauty in difference, in diversity, in imperfection, and in growth. If you're learning English right now, I want you to know you're doing something brave, something powerful. You're not just learning grammar, you're expanding your world. And I am so proud of you. Keep going. Keep showing up. Keep being curious. Because your English journey is also a journey toward connection, confidence, and discovery. And I'm so glad we're on it together. Thanks for listening to Groovy English. This is Olivia, sending you a big virtual hug wherever in the world you are. Talk soon, friends.
Your English is shining brighter by the minute. Hit that next video to keep leveling up your skills. Or dive into our other episodes for more secrets to talk like a pro. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share to join the Groovy English crew.